Good Day Collective. And it is a good day. That scene you just saw, what I just sang, that's how I feel about the Most High God. Seriously, y'all. Because when I was in that moment, it was such like a paradox. I was being baptized for the first time I can remember in my life, and I was in the Bahamas. And I had just really, that was the end of a chapter for me, because I had broke up, or he had broke up with me. My first breakup in my life, y'all. My ex. And it was like the end of my fairy tale. You see, that relationship, looking back, it brought me closer to God, like how I was when I was younger. I had lost my way in that way, and that relationship, that man, he was a 7-day Adventist, or is a 7-day Adventist. That's what that moment was. And I remember walking back out of the ocean thinking, what now? Because the waves had been like beat me up, y'all. I don't want to show you the whole video, but they beat me up to make sure I was cleansed. And I was like, now I'm cleansed, I'm baptized. Does that mean that I'm completely reborn at this moment? Little did I know what was coming down the road for me, y'all. Which brings us to the word today. Christ must be born in us. Christ must be resurrected in us. All praise to the Most High God. Love to the Mother. I had not went through my dark night at that moment, y'all. Getting baptized was just like the beginning of it all, I suppose. The grandness in the ocean, the beauty of it, the whole church out on the shores watching. And I remember I left that next morning, early morning, from the Bahamas, because like I said, we had broke up, and the details regarding that breakup are significant, I think, because everything from the very beginning of that relationship was like everything I ever imagined. This man loved my parents, reached out to them, would talk to them, would send my mom flowers. My mom was disabled in a nursing home, and it meant the world to her. And the fact that he wasn't judging me over her, because a lot of people did, it just made me feel so accepted. It made me feel so seen. It made me feel so valued. And he would send me surprises and flowers, and he would just lavish me and all of these things, right? Things. And he had a lot of money. And he had his own plane that we would fly out to the Bahamas. My kids would come with me. But it wasn't just that, y'all. For me, what I realize now I fell in love with was his family. It was the way they lived. It was their lifestyle. It was how they ate. They were vegetarian/vegan. They lived essentially on a compound. His dad had a mansion off the ocean. They ate together, and they really, really loved and cared for each other the way that I hadn't ever seen in my life before. They loved each other. Everything was done with the family. Now, family members came and went off the property. They went off to school. They did what they needed to do, but they always returned back home, and they always knew the big house was the home, the heart of the family, where they could go eat with their parents or their dad, and they could talk, and they could share stories. They could talk about concerns. They could talk about their careers, and they always had a place. Each one of the siblings had a house on this land. And like I said, I love the way that they loved each other. They did not think of themselves in isolation. Their brothers and sisters, for the wedding, I came. Even though we had broke up, I came, and I loved his sister. So I helped her do DIY for her wedding, y'all. It was like, I'm going to show y'all a clip of that. But it was awesome. So I loved how they loved each other, and I loved how they loved God, y'all. I became a 7-day Adventist. he really did bring me closer to God. And like I was so into it that I became a 7-day Adventist in Chicago where I lived. I'm not a 7-day Adventist anymore, but I saw an amazing pastor there who I still follow to this day. Shout out to Pastor Fart, and who really inspired me. And I really do think that was like when I it was a confusing moment for me, because the reason why he broke up with me was that the father of my kids, we hadn't been together for like 10, 11 years or more, longer at that point, and he did something really violent. He took the life of a woman. And, by the time he had done that, I barely knew who he was and his character. I'm not saying that is who their dad is today, but at that time, I know he was heavy on substances, and he was just not someone I really affiliated or knew, even though he was the first man I saw in high school, and we were together for 13 years as my high school sweetheart. But I was in this relationship with this man at the time, and he just couldn't get over the fact of what the girl's dad had done, and he judged me, and he labeled me, and he stigmatized me and my children, and I really could tell he didn't want to be associated with us anymore because of it. And he wasn't the only one. It was everybody in my life. It was friends, supposed to be close friends. They immediately started judging me. Well, what's up with her? What happened to her? They put his mistakes on me, and honestly, at that moment, after that breakup, I probably should have gotten therapy. But I just kept going with it, and as you would expect, I fell out of line. Like, I was going to see my dad, and I was going to church every weekend for a while after we broke up, and I just faded because I entered into a very, very dark relationship, though, my past relationship with the father of my boys. And I probably would have never been in that relationship if I had healed myself the way that I should have, and if I had kept on strengthening my foundation with God. I had come right to God. I had come close to God. And even though that relationship ended like it should, that's a good man, and he's going to do whatever he's going to do. But he served his purpose. He brought me close to God. And even I let that end of that relationship in a heartbreak, because I was hurt, y'all. I let that heartbreak condition my relationship with God, and I wandered away. And I stopped going to church. I stopped observing daily. I stopped doing affirmations with my girls. I stopped seeing my dad, which I woefully regret now that he is gone. All that time we spent together, he was like the girl's father, even though their father couldn't be with them because he was incarcerated. And I had to go. God was trying to reach me. God had me in his hands. And because I was hurt and I was living in shadows, I decided to go my way, my route. And so God was born in me in that moment that you just saw. But God and Christ had to be resurrected through me, through the reset I had, the partial reset, because reset is no longer here, y'all. The partial reset that then happened, which I have talked about in my stories with the past relationship where I came so close to losing everything, myself, my sanity, my life, my children. Like, I had to be resurrected. And I hope that the stories I'm sharing with you will be enough for you so that you don't have to go through the same mistakes that I made in order to decide today that you want to strengthen your relationship with God.